Hello, Daniel Faber here. Today I'm going to talk about how to do work that you love and avoid doing the work you don't like in your practice. Let's start with a TV show called The Profit. Some of you may have seen that TV show. It's this gentleman, Marcus Lemonis. He's a very successful businessman. He's a billionaire, and he goes around to businesses and finds what's wrong with them and often invests in them and helps them people fix their problems and grow their business. The first thing he typically does in a storefront kind of business is he walks into the store and walks around the store with the owner, and they look at the shelves of inventory of the stuff on their shelves, and he'll say, this looks nice, and he'll go around and say, what are the things that you sell the most of? And inevitably, typically, the person running the store will say, oh, this stuff over here on this shelf over here, these 3 items, we sell the most of those. That we sell, 80% of our inventory is, or 70% or 80, 90% of that inventory is this stuff. And yet, on the shelves, they have a myriad of products all over the place. And then Marcus almost routinely will say, okay, well, if you're selling all these items over here really well, why are you displaying all these other items for sale in these prime spots? And that's where the conversation gets going. And he says, well, let's start switching things around. Often what will happen is they'll kind of take down their inventory down to a few items that sell really well. They'll get rid of some items. They'll definitely make those items that sell more prominent and make that more of a focus of their business. Sometimes it works like that, sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on the business, but the point is he's looking for what sells the best and focusing on those and tripling down on those things. And then it kind of hit me as I was watching this. I'm like, why don't we do that in dentistry? Why in dentistry do we just kind of settle for what walks in the door and not really deliberately or preemptively try to do procedures that we want to do rather than just kind of be forced to do procedures we don't want to do? Granted, dentistry can't work exactly like items on a shelf. When patients come in, they have individual needs. We can't just fulfill certain needs because we want to and ignore other needs because we don't want to. However, as a dentist, you can decide that you, as a dentist, want to focus more on certain procedures and form your practice that way. So a good way to do this is sit down and actually write down all the procedures that you do in your practice and their fees and the time it takes you to do them and the costs that are involved with doing those procedures. Then figure out what of those procedures do you like to do? What are those procedures that you like to do and are the most profitable? And start thinking about the process of making those the procedures you focus on more. For example, I was talking to a dentist and he was telling me that he just loves these cosmetic procedures, doing the veneers, and when those cases come in, he gets really excited. However, he already works 4 to 5 days a week. He's booked solid, and he's doing other procedures that are not cosmetic procedures. He's doing composites, crowns, the typical dentistry that we see every day. So my thought process to him was, why don't you start thinking about doing those more profitable procedures as a bigger part of your practice and figure out a way to get those other procedures done by somebody else, or you need to make more time for those other procedures while you're doing those other procedures. You might have to add a day temporarily, but some way or another, you have to figure out how to get those more profitable procedures in and not be taken up by procedures you don't want to be really doing. So often, if you're already booked, the world's basically telling you that maybe you might need to bring in an associate to kind of take over those other procedures while you could focus on the more profitable procedures for the practice. So just something to think about. Take a look at The Profit. It's a pretty cool show, and you can kind of get your wheels turning about how he views things as a as a smart businessman rather than just a smart practitioner, which is often what we dentists focus on. Is, we're dentists, we focus on the problems that come in the door, but as business owners, we may need to focus more on what makes the business more profitable as well. And we can have the best of both worlds. It doesn't mean you sacrifice patient care or the health of your patients in any way at all. And it doesn't mean you sell them things you don't need, but you want to make room for those profitable procedures that work for you. And you want to picture this as walking into your practice and seeing that your practice is a bunch of shelves with inventory on the shelf. You have some fillings, you have some crowns, and you have some veneers. And if you want those veneers to be front and center when someone walks in, you have to form the practice that way and deliberately take action to get to that goal. So until next time, this is Dan Faber. I wish you the best, and reach out to me if you need any help. Thanks.